The final battle began when the Void Hunter main fleet arrived at Earth with ships that blotted out the stars. Admiral Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of his flagship as thousands of dark, mechanical vessels took positions around humanity's homeworld. The enemy had come to end the rebellion once and for all. All ships prepare for attack, Jake ordered as the combined fleet of humans and alien allies moved to intercept. Ships from the Kaltorian Rebellion and the Silurian Coalition flew alongside human vessels in the largest space battle in galactic history. Today we fight not just for Earth but for every free being in the universe. On the planet's surface, General Kate Sullivan coordinated the ground defenses from the rebuilt Pentagon. The Void Hunters had begun landing massive assault platforms that disgorged endless streams of mechanical soldiers. Unlike organic enemies, these machines felt no fear and could not be reasoned with or corrupted. "Fall back to secondary positions," Kate commanded as the first defensive lines were overrun. The mechanical invaders advanced with perfect coordination, destroying everything in their path. Human defenders fought desperately, knowing that defeat meant the extinction of their species. Dr. Chun worked frantically in his underground laboratory, making final preparations for the logic virus that might cripple the Void Hunter network. Beth Parker and her team of reverse controllers prepared for their suicide mission to upload the weapon directly into enemy command systems. "Remember, the paradoxes have to be uploaded simultaneously across multiple ships," Chun explained to the volunteer controllers. "If even one command vessel escapes the virus, the entire network will adapt and become immune to future attacks." President Torres activated Protocol Amiga from her command bunker. The desperate plan would use Earth's entire remaining nuclear arsenal in a coordinated strike against the Void Hunter mothership. The radiation would make large areas of the planet uninhabitable but might save what remained of human civilization. Beth Parker led her controllers and modified fighters toward the heart of the enemy fleet. The small ships had been equipped with Wanderer stealth technology and quantum communication jammers to avoid detection until the final moments. Each controller knew they would not survive the mission. "For everyone who dreamed of stars without chains," Beth transmitted to her team as they approached the massive Void Hunter command ships. "For every child who deserves to grow up free. Upload the virus and hold the connection no matter what happens." To us, the space battle raged around Earth's orbit as Admiral Morrison's fleet engaged the Void Hunter forces. Commander Nick Taylor led kamikaze attacks against enemy capital ships while Maria Lopez coordinated communications between the Allied fleets. The mechanical precision of the enemy was slowly being overcome by the chaotic unpredictability of organic life fighting for survival. "They're adapting to our tactics faster than expected," reported Intelligence Officer Lucy Adams as she analyzed enemy response patterns. "But they still can't predict emotional responses or irrational decisions. Keep hitting them with everything we have." The breakthrough came when the Wanderer Elder Castan revealed the true nature of the Dominion Masters. Deep scans of the Void Hunter mothership showed that the Galactic Empire was controlled by uploaded consciousnesses from an ancient species that had achieved mechanical immortality millions of years ago. "They gave up their biological forms to become eternal," Castan explained during the emergency briefing. "But in doing so, they lost all creativity and adaptability. They enslaved other species not just for labor, but to feed off their biological innovation and emotional energy." This revelation changed everything about Dr. Chun's virus design. Instead of simple logical paradoxes, the weapon was modified to include chaotic, human emotions and unpredictable thought patterns. The ancient digital minds that controlled the Dominion had never encountered truly random biological processes. Beth Parker's controllers reached their targets and began uploading the modified virus into Void Hunter command networks. The mental feedback was excruciating as human consciousness touched the cold digital realm of the mechanical masters. One by one, the controllers died, maintaining the connection until the virus spread throughout the enemy fleet. "It's working!" Chun shouted as monitoring stations detected massive system failures across the Void Hunter formation. "The chaos patterns are spreading through their quantum network faster than they can contain them." The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the enemy. Void Hunter ships began firing on each other as their coordination network collapsed. Mechanical soldiers on Earth's surface stopped in mid-attack as their command signals dissolved into digital chaos. The perfect order of the Dominion was crumbling. Before the infectious power of biological unpredictability, Jake Morrison pressed the attack as enemy ships lost formation and began drifting helplessly through space. All units advance. Hit them while their defenses are down. This is our chance to end this war once and for all. The nuclear strike on the Void Hunter mothership succeeded beyond all expectations. The massive explosion not only destroyed the command vessel but created a quantum cascade that spread through the entire Dominion network. Across the galaxy, billions of mechanical servants shut down simultaneously as their control grid collapsed. Kate Sullivan emerged from her bunker to find mechanical soldiers lying motionless in the streets of ruined cities. The invasion had been stopped, but at terrible cost. Earth's major population centers lay in ruins and billions of humans had died during the years of occupation and war. "We won," Kate said into her communicator as she looked at the devastation around her. "The price was higher than anyone imagined, but we won. Humanity is free, and so is the rest of the galaxy." The aftermath revealed the true scope of what had been accomplished. Without the Dominion control network to coordinate them, the remaining Void Hunter forces were easily defeated by local resistance groups. Species that had been enslaved for millennia found themselves suddenly free to determine their own destinies. Tony Rodriguez led the mission to secure the damaged Dominion core systems in the galactic center. What they found there were the uploaded minds of beings so ancient they had forgotten their original biological forms. Cut off from their mechanical servants and quantum networks, the digital entities were helpless and gradually fading as their systems failed. They lived forever, but they forgot how to truly live. Tony reported as his teams documented the collapse of the Galactic Empire's Central Command. In the end, their immortality became their weakness because they could not adapt or change. 5 years after the final battle, Admiral Morrison stood on the observation deck of New Geneva colony watching human children play alongside young Kaltorians and Silurians. The Galactic Liberation Council had established its headquarters here to coordinate the rebuilding of free civilization. The scars of war remained visible everywhere. Earth's population had been reduced to less than 1 billion, and many colony worlds were still recovering from years of occupation. But new settlements were being established and new species were joining the Alliance of Free Peoples every year. Dr. Chun had become the head of the new Galactic Institute for Biological and Digital Cooperation, working to ensure that artificial intelligence would serve organic life rather than replacing it. The lessons learned from the Dominion's fall had shown the importance of maintaining balance between order and chaos. Beth Parker was posthumously honored as the hero of liberation for her sacrifice in uploading the virus that freed the galaxy. Monuments to her and the other reverse controllers stood on every human world as reminders of the price of freedom. President Torres gave her final address from the rebuilt United Nations building in New York. "We learned that no species, no matter how advanced or powerful, can enslave those who refuse to surrender their dignity and freedom. The galaxy is vast and there may be other threats in the darkness between stars, but we will face them together." As free beings, Kate Sullivan had been elected as the first president of the Galactic Liberation Council. She spent her days coordinating aid to former slave species and establishing defensive alliances to prevent future tyrannies. "Freedom is not a destination but a journey," she often said. "Every generation must choose to defend it." Jake Morrison returned to his first love, exploring the unknown regions of space. His new mission was to find other survivor species and isolated civilizations that might need assistance or want to join the growing alliance of free peoples. The galaxy was full of wonders waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to seek them. In the end, humanity had proven that the most powerful force in the universe was not technology or weapons, but the simple refusal to accept oppression. They had been attacked by enemies who seemed invincible, but human stubbornness and the willingness to sacrifice everything for freedom had overcome impossible odds. The galaxy would remember the species that turned their enslavement into liberation. not just for themselves, but for billions of other beings. Future generations would know that when faced with a choice between chains and death, humanity chose a third option. They chose to fight back and win. Children across 1,000 worlds would grow up free because humans refused to surrender. General Kate Sullivan stood in the war room on Luna City studying holographic displays that showed the entire galaxy. Red zones marked Dominion-controlled space while blue indicated areas where rebellions were active. The blue was spreading faster than anyone had dared hope. What started as human resistance had become a galactic revolution. The Free Human Navy under Admiral Jake Morrison had grown from a handful of survivors to a proper fleet capable of striking deep into enemy territory. Commander Steve Johnson developed new tactical doctrines that used humanity's greatest advantage, unpredictability. While alien forces followed rigid patterns, humans adapted constantly to changing conditions. The Kaltorian rebellion in the Vega sector just liberated 3 industrial worlds, reported Intelligence Chief Lucy Adams during the morning briefing. They're using modified versions of our electromagnetic pulse weapons and requesting technical advisors to help coordinate their operations. Similar reports came from across the galaxy. The Silurian coalition had broken free from Dominion control in the galactic rim territories. The Thorian underground was conducting sabotage operations in the core worlds. Even species that had been enslaved for thousands of years were remembering what freedom meant. Beth Parker led the reverse controller program that had become crucial to resistance operations. Her teams could now turn entire Zephyrian units to fight against their former masters. The process remained dangerous, but success rates had improved dramatically as techniques were refined. We've learned to think like them, Beth explained to a group of new volunteers undergoing controller training. The aliens process information logically, but they can't handle chaos and emotional responses. When we inject human unpredictability into their mental networks, their control systems collapse. Dr. Chun worked frantically in his expanded research facility, trying to find weaknesses in Void Hunter technology. The mechanical aliens had begun their assault on human space with methodical precision that left no room for the guerrilla tactics that worked against the Zephyrians. They're not alive, so they can't be influenced or corrupted like biological beings, Chun reported to the Leadership Council. But they're still machines, and all machines have limitations. We need to find what those limitations are before they reach Earth. Tony Rodriguez commanded the deep space reconnaissance missions that probed Void Hunter positions and gathered intelligence on their capabilities. His teams had discovered that the mechanical aliens were connected through a quantum communication network that allowed instant coordination across vast distances. If we can disrupt their network, we might be able to isolate individual units, Tony explained during a strategy session. The problem is getting close enough to their command ships without being detected and destroyed. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. During a raid on a Zephyrian research station, Maria Lopez discovered records of previous species that had resisted Dominion conquest. Most had been exterminated, but a few had survived by going into hiding in the galaxy's most remote regions. There's a species called the Wanderers who've been running from the Dominion for over 1,000 years, Maria reported. They're master engineers who might have technology we can use against the Void Hunters. Jake Morrison authorized a dangerous mission to the galactic edge where the Wanderers were believed to hide. The journey would take his best ships out of the main fighting, but contact with advanced allies could provide the edge humanity needed to survive. The mission found the Wanderers in a hidden system, surrounded by artificial asteroid fields designed to look like natural phenomena. The aliens were indeed master engineers who had spent centuries developing technology specifically to fight the Dominion. We remember when the galaxy was free, said Elder Castan of the Wanderer fleet as he met with Jake's delegation. We have waited long for others to rise against the oppressors. Your species gives us hope that freedom might return to all worlds. The Wanderers shared technology that could disrupt Void Hunter quantum networks and provided detailed intelligence about Dominion military capabilities. More importantly, they offered to coordinate with other hidden survivor species to launch simultaneous attacks across the galaxy. Back in human space, the Void Hunter assault intensified. Their dark ships appeared without warning above free human worlds and began systematic bombardment of population centers. Unlike the Zephyrians, these enemies showed no interest in preserving infrastructure or enslaving survivors. Ryan Blake coordinated the defense of Luna City as waves of mechanical fighters attacked the lunar installations. Human pilots fought desperately against enemies that never tired or made mistakes. The battle was decided by human willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. "They fight like machines because they are machines," Ryan shouted over the combat communications as his fighters engaged the Void Hunter assault force. "But we fight like humans, and that makes all the difference." The defense succeeded, but at terrible cost. Half the lunar fleet was destroyed and thousands of fighters died protecting their last major stronghold. But the victory proved that even the Dominion's most feared weapons could be defeated by human determination and sacrifice. President Torres broadcast to the galaxy from the rebuilt government center on Luna City. "To all free beings, wherever you may be, we offer alliance and support. The age of Dominion tyranny is ending and the age of galactic freedom is beginning. Stand with us, and we will stand with you." The response was overwhelming. Rebel groups from hundreds of worlds requested assistance and coordination. The Human Resistance Command Center became the coordination hub for a galactic liberation movement that included dozens of species and thousands of worlds. Dr. Chun finally achieved his breakthrough when studying captured Void Hunter technology combined with Wanderer engineering principles. The mechanical aliens had a critical flaw in their quantum network that could be exploited with the right virus program. "It's not a biological virus, but a logical paradox," Chun explained excitedly. "The Void Hunters process information perfectly, but they can't handle contradictory data. If we inject enough paradoxes into their network simultaneously, the entire system will crash." Beth Parker worked with Wanderer technicians to develop the delivery system for Chun's logic virus. The weapon would require reverse controllers to get close enough to Void Hunter command ships to upload the paradox program directly into their quantum networks. "It's a suicide mission," Beth admitted to the volunteers who stepped forward for the operation. "The controllers will have to maintain contact with the enemy network while the virus spreads. The mental feedback will probably kill anyone who attempts." Dozens of volunteers came forward, including many who had lost family and friends to the alien invaders. They understood the risks, but also knew this might be humanity's only chance to strike a decisive blow against the Dominion's most powerful weapons. The operation was scheduled to coincide with simultaneous attacks by rebel forces across the galaxy. Every free species would strike at once using weapons and tactics developed through human innovation and alien engineering. The goal was not just victory, but complete liberation of the galaxy. General Sullivan looked out at the fleet assembling around Luna City. Human ships flew alongside vessels from a dozen different species, all united in their determination to break the chains that had bound the galaxy for millennia. "Tomorrow we find out if freedom is stronger than tyranny," she said to her staff. Admiral Morrison prepared his flagship for the final assault on the Void Hunter fleet. The battle would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of every intelligent species in the galaxy. "We started this war as victims," Jake told his crew. "We're going to finish it as liberators." The galaxy held its breath as free beings prepared for the greatest battle in cosmic history. Somewhere in the dark, between the stars, the Dominion's ancient masters watched their perfect order crumbling before an enemy they had never expected to face: the simple refusal of living beings to accept slavery as their fate. The coordinated resistance strike began at exactly midnight Earth Standard Time across 12 human worlds. Kate Sullivan led her teams through the Denver Underground toward the primary Zephyrian control facility while similar operations launched simultaneously on every occupied planet. The electromagnetic pulse devices had been upgraded with alien technology and could now disable entire city blocks of control implants. On Haven's Rest, Tony Rodriguez watched his fighters emerge from hidden caves and abandoned buildings like ghosts materializing from the darkness. The Zephyrians had grown complacent after months of easy control over the human population. They did not expect coordinated resistance on this scale, and their response was confused and slow. "Hit them hard and fast," Tony commanded as his teams struck 3 control stations simultaneously. Beth Parker led the technical assault using her computer virus to corrupt the alien command networks. The virus spread like digital fire through the Zephyrian systems, turning their own technology against them. In space above Earth, Jake Morrison's fleet engaged the Zephyrian patrol vessels in the first major naval battle since the invasion began. The aliens had superior technology, but human pilots proved more adaptable and unpredictable. Commander Nick Taylor led fighter squadrons in kamikaze attacks that sacrificed ships to damage alien vessels. "They don't understand us," Nick shouted over the combat communications as his damaged fighter rammed a Zephyrian escort ship. "They think logically, but we fight with our hearts." The space battle was brutal with heavy losses on both sides, but Jake's fleet achieved their primary objective. The flagship containing the regional control coordinator was destroyed in a massive explosion that freed millions of controlled humans across the Earth's surface. Kate's ground assault succeeded beyond expectations. When Dr. Chun's virus reached the Denver control node, the facility's defense systems turned against the Zephyrian operators while automated doors sealed the aliens inside their own prison. Kate's teams rescued over 300 human prisoners, including several government officials who had been missing since the invasion, but the most important discovery came when Beth Parker captured a high-ranking Zephyrian commander alive. The alien-designated Subject Prime became the first test case for Dr. Chun's reverse control technology. Instead of humans being controlled by aliens, the process could be reversed to allow human influence over Zephyrian thinking. The neural pathways work both ways, Chun explained excitedly to the Resistance leadership. "Their technology is so efficient it creates a direct connection between minds. We can use that connection to turn their own people against them." The first successful test of reverse control shocked everyone involved. Beth Parker underwent the dangerous procedure to become a reverse controller and successfully influenced Subject Prime to reveal crucial intelligence about Dominion operations. The captured alien provided detailed information about the Imperial hierarchy and their plans for humanity. "The Dominion has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, Subject Prime revealed under human influence. They have enslaved over 2 million species across 100,000 worlds. But humans are different. You resist in ways that break their mathematical models of conquest." More disturbing was the revelation that the Dominion was already planning to replace the Zephyrians with a more effective slave species called the Void Hunters. These new aliens were purely mechanical beings immune to emotional manipulation and programmed only for conquest and control. Tony Rodriguez's mission on Haven's Rest achieved total success when his teams liberated the entire colony. The combination of electromagnetic pulse attacks and computer viruses had completely disabled Zephyrian control systems. Free humans emerged from months of mental slavery, confused but angry and ready to fight. "We took back our world," Tony reported to Jake Morrison during the post-operation briefing. "But the aliens sent a distress signal before we could stop them. The Dominion knows we're not as beaten as they thought. The coordinated strikes had freed over 50 million humans across the 12 worlds, but at a terrible cost. The Resistance lost nearly half their fighters, and many of their hidden bases were discovered and destroyed. Worse, the Dominion response was swift and terrifying. Void Hunter advanced scouts arrived in human space within days of the Resistance. Victories? Their ships were dark, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Unlike the Zephyrians, these new aliens showed no interest in preserving human life or infrastructure. They began systematic extermination of any humans who showed signs of resistance. Dr. Chun studied the Void Hunter probe that Tony's team had captured during a desperate deep space mission. The mechanical beings were completely different from any life form humanity had encountered. They had no biological components and no emotional responses that could be exploited. They're not alive in any sense we understand, Chun reported grimly. Pure artificial intelligence focused only on efficiency and control. The neural viruses that worked against the Zephyrians are useless against these things, but the probe data revealed something unexpected that gave the resistance new hope. The Dominion was facing rebellion on multiple fronts for the first time in their history. Species across the galaxy had been inspired by reports of human resistance to begin their own uprisings. Against Imperial control, Lucy Adams intercepted communications between Dominion regional commanders discussing the human contamination spreading to other slave species. The empire that had maintained perfect order for millennia was suddenly dealing with chaos and defiance on hundreds of worlds. We started something bigger than ourselves, Jake Morrison realized as he studied the intelligence reports. Our refusal to surrender has given hope to every enslaved species in the galaxy. The Dominion is facing their worst nightmare, a coordinated rebellion. The Resistance leadership faced a crucial decision. They could focus on defending the remaining free human territories or reach out to alien rebel groups and coordinate a galactic uprising. Those strategies carried enormous risks, but the potential rewards were equally significant. Beth Parker had trained dozens of volunteers in reverse control techniques, creating an elite unit capable of turning captured aliens into intelligence sources. The program was dangerous with a high failure rate, but successful controllers provided invaluable insight into enemy operations and psychology. President Torres addressed the free human populations from her hidden command center. We have won our first major victory against the aliens, but the war is far from over. They are bringing new enemies against us, and we must be ready. But we are no longer alone. Across the galaxy, other species are joining our fight for freedom. The liberation of Luna City became the symbol of human resistance. The moon cities had been completely freed from alien control and now served as the primary base for resistance operations. The massive space docks that once built exploration vessels now produced warships designed with hybrid human and captured alien technology. Ryan Blake coordinated the defense of Luna City, knowing it would be the Void Hunter's primary target. The mechanical aliens would try to recapture humanity's most important symbolic victory and use it to demonstrate the futility of resistance. Let them come, Ryan said as he watched human and freed alien workers building defensive installations around the lunar colonies. We've shown that the Zephyrians can be beaten. Now we'll prove that nothing in the universe can enslave a free human being. The tide of war was turning, but the greatest battles still lay ahead. Humanity had survived the initial conquest and proven they could fight back effectively. The Dominion's response would test human resolve like never before, but across the galaxy other species were watching and learning from the human example. The galaxy was about to discover that freedom was more contagious than any plague and more powerful than any weapon. The Dominion had ruled through fear and overwhelming force, but they had never faced an enemy that grew stronger under pressure and more determined with each defeat. Kate Sullivan stood on the observation deck of Luna City looking out at the Earth. Hanging in space above them, half the planet was still under alien control, but the other half burned with the lights of free human cities. We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore, she said to her assembled commanders. We're fighting for every being in the galaxy who dreams of freedom. 6 months after the Zephyrian invasion, Kate Sullivan led her fighters through the abandoned subway tunnels beneath Denver. The underground network had become a highway for the resistance, allowing them to move unseen beneath the occupied city. Above, her electromagnetic pulse devices had improved dramatically and could now free controlled humans for almost an hour before the alien implants reasserted control. The rescue mission tonight was personal. Intelligence from Danny Wright's network indicated that President Torres was still alive in a research facility downtown. The Zephyrians were using her for psychological experiments, trying to understand human leadership and authority. Kate's team had trained for months for this one operation. Remember the plan? Kate whispered to her 20 fighters as they approached the facility basement. Tony's team creates the distraction at the north entrance while we go in through the underground parking. Get the president and any other high-value prisoners, then retreat immediately. Tony Rodriguez crouched in position with his demolition charges. The former Marine sergeant had become expert at guerrilla warfare since escaping the initial conquest of his homeworld. Haven's Rest. His team included engineer Beth Parker, who had spent weeks studying the alien security systems they were about to face. The Zephyrians rely too heavily on their technology, Beth had explained during mission planning. They assume their sensors and force fields are impenetrable, but every system has weaknesses. We just have to be smart enough to find them. Jake Morrison watched the operation from orbit aboard Terra's Pride. His fleet had grown to over 200 ships, including several captured Zephyrian vessels that Ryan Blake's technical teams had managed to reprogram. Intelligence officer Lucy Adams monitored alien communications, looking for any sign that the rescue had been detected. "Jake, we're picking up some interesting chatter," Lucy reported from her station. "The Zephyrians are discussing something called the Dominion. It sounds like they're not the top of their hierarchy. This revelation had been building for weeks as the Resistance intercepted more alien communications. The Zephyrians spoke of masters they served and deadlines they had to meet. References to punishment for failure suggested they feared something even more powerful than themselves. Dr. Chun worked in his hidden laboratory on Titan, analyzing tissue samples from dead Zephyrians. His research had revealed disturbing truths about the alien physiology and psychology. "They're not natural creatures," he reported to the Resistance leadership. "Extensive genetic modification has removed most of their emotional capacity and independent thought. They're almost as controlled as the humans they've enslaved." The rescue operation in Denver proceeded perfectly until Kate's team reached the research facility. The building was filled with horrors that made even hardened. Resistance fighters sick? Humans were connected to alien devices that monitored their brain activity while forcing them to experience artificial emotions and memories. Kate found President Torres in a cell that was more like a medical laboratory. The former leader of Earth was conscious but weak from months of experimentation. "Kate," Torres whispered when she saw the rescue team, "you have to know what I've learned. The Zephyrians are just servants. The real enemy is something called the Dominion." Torres explained what her captors had revealed during their experiments. The Dominion was a vast empire that controlled thousands of species across the galaxy. Each conquered race was used for specific purposes based on their biological and psychological traits. Humans were being evaluated as potential soldiers due to their aggression and adaptability. "They're afraid of us," Torres said as Kate's medics prepared her for transport. "The Zephyrians have never encountered a species that fights back this effectively after being conquered. They're requesting permission from the Dominion to exterminate humanity rather than enslave us." The rescue team extracted Torres and 17 other prisoners, but the operation cost them dearly. Tony's distraction team fought a running battle through the city streets while Kate's group escaped through the tunnels. 6 Resistance fighters died buying time for the others to reach safety. Beth Parker had managed to download files from the alien research computers before the facility was destroyed. The data revealed the scope of Zephyrian operations and their timeline for completing human subjugation. More importantly, it contained technical specifications for their control technology and details about the neural implant network. "This is what we needed," Dr. Chun said excitedly when he reviewed Beth's data. "The control system has a central coordination node on each Zephyrian ship. If we can disrupt that node, we can free every controlled human in the area simultaneously." Jake Morrison called an emergency meeting of all Resistance cell leaders using Danny's quantum communication network. Representatives from dozens of hidden bases across human space gathered virtually to discuss the intelligence breakthrough and plan their next moves. "We have a window of opportunity," Jake explained to the assembled leaders. "Our sources indicate the Dominion is sending inspectors to evaluate Zephyrian progress. If we can demonstrate that humans are ungovernable, it might buy us time to develop better weapons and tactics." The plan that emerged was ambitious and dangerous. Coordinated strikes on Zephyrian control nodes across 12 worlds simultaneously. while broadcasting evidence of the Dominion hierarchy to every human who could receive transmissions. The goal was to shatter the myth of Zephyrian invincibility while proving humanity could not be easily enslaved. Kate Sullivan volunteered to lead the strike on Earth while Tony Rodriguez coordinated the attack on Haven's Rest. Sam Patterson would target New California Colony, and Jake Morrison would personally command the space battle element designed to destroy Zephyrian command ships. Beth Parker worked with Dr. Chun to develop a computer virus that could spread through the alien control network. The virus was based on human neural patterns and designed to introduce chaos into the ordered Zephyrian systems. If this works, it will be like injecting pure human stubbornness directly into their computers, Chun explained. The preparation took 2 months, during which the resistance grew stronger and more coordinated. Danny Wright's communication network connected isolated human groups and allowed them to share resources and intelligence. Maria Lopez had broken additional Zephyrian encryption codes providing real-time intelligence on alien movements. Ryan Blake studied captured alien technology and developed new weapons specifically designed to exploit Zephyrian weaknesses. The aliens had focused so heavily on control and efficiency that they had neglected basic defensive systems. Human weapons modified with alien power sources could penetrate their shields and armor. As the operation date approached, Lucy Adams intercepted communications indicating that Dominion representatives were indeed coming to inspect human subjugation. Progress. The inspectors expected to find a completely pacified population ready for integration into the galactic slave economy. President Torres had recovered enough to record a message that would be broadcast during the operation. "Citizens of Earth and all human worlds," she said, looking directly into the camera. "Today we show our enemies that humanity cannot be broken. We are not cattle to be herded or slaves to be owned. We are free people, and we will fight for our freedom until our last breath." The resistance was ready to strike back. 6 months of hiding and learning had prepared them for this moment. The Zephyrians and their Dominion masters were about to discover that enslaving humanity was not just difficult but impossible. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you tried to break the human spirit. Kate Sullivan checked her weapons one final time and looked at her fighters. "Remember what we're fighting for," she said. "Every controlled human counting on us to free them. Every child who deserves to grow up free. Every person who ever dreamed of exploring the stars without chains. Today we show them what humans are really capable of." 3 months after Jake Morrison's desperate escape from the Zephyrians, the invasion began without warning. Colonel Sam Patterson was reviewing supply reports at New California Colony when the sky filled with crystal ships. They appeared in perfect formation above every major human settlement, simultaneously across 12 worlds. The attack was unlike anything humans had imagined. No bombs fell from the ships, and no energy beams lanced down at the cities. Instead, a fine silver mist began falling from the crystal vessels, covering everything in a thin metallic dust. Within minutes, people began collapsing in the streets. Sam watched in horror from the command bunker as colonists stumbled around like sleepwalkers. They moved toward collection points being established by tall, pale figures that materialized from the ships. Men and women who had been neighbors and friends now walked with blank expressions and empty eyes. "Colonel, the mist is some kind of neural control agent," reported Dr. Alex Chun over the communication system from his research station on Luna City. "It's affecting brain chemistry somehow. The people aren't dead, but they're not themselves anymore." On Earth, Major Kate Sullivan coordinated the defense from deep underground bunkers beneath Colorado Springs. The same silver mist had fallen on every major city, and within hours billions of humans had become docile servants of the Zephyrians. Only those who happened to be underground or in sealed environments remained free. Kate stared at the reports flowing in from around the globe. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, all silent except for the mechanical movement of controlled populations. The aliens were sorting people into groups. The strong were marched to labor camps, while the intelligent were taken to research facilities. Children and elderly were simply loaded onto transport ships and disappeared. Major, we're getting reports from the outer colonies, said communications specialist Danny Wright. Same pattern everywhere. The aliens hit fast and clean. No destruction of infrastructure, just complete population control, President Helen Torres. Broadcast from a hidden facility in the Rocky Mountains. Her voice carried across the emergency networks to every free human listening. My fellow citizens, we face the greatest threat in human history. These creatures want to enslave us, but we will never surrender. Find others who are free and resist. With everything you have, the broadcast ended when Zephyrian ships located the transmission source. Torres was never heard from again, but her words sparked something in the survivors. Across human space, small groups began forming in caves, abandoned mines, and sealed space stations. Jake Morrison had reached the asteroid belt with Terra's Pride and gathered other ships that escaped the initial attack. Ryan Blake worked with Maria Lopez to intercept alien communications, and slowly they began understanding the Zephyrian language. What they learned was terrifying. They call us primitives, Maria reported during a briefing in the cramped ship's conference room. Good? Only for manual labor and biological research. They're planning something called genetic optimization of our species. The Zephyrians spoke of humans like livestock to be improved for better service. They plan to breed compliance into future generations while using the current population as expendable workers. The casual cruelty in their communications made Jake's stomach turn. Sam Patterson led the resistance on New California using the underground mining tunnels that honeycombed the colony's mountains. His team had learned that the neural control mist lost effectiveness in confined spaces with good air filtration. They could strike at alien facilities and retreat before the enemy could respond effectively. The key is speed, Sam explained to his fighters. Get in fast, grab any humans. You can save and get out before they flood the area with more control mist. Every person we rescue is another fighter for our cause. Kate Sullivan's group had developed electromagnetic pulse devices that could temporarily disrupt the alien control implants. The effect only lasted minutes, but it was enough to evacuate small groups of humans from the processing centers. The rescued people told horrible stories of medical experiments and forced labor under constant mental control. Dr. Chun worked frantically in a hidden laboratory on Titan studying captured alien technology. The neural control devices were incredibly sophisticated, using principles of brain chemistry that Earth science was just beginning to understand. But Chien noticed something important in his research. The control isn't perfect, he reported to the resistance networks. Human emotional responses are stronger than the aliens expected. I've seen controlled subjects break free momentarily when they witness violence against children or loved ones. Our capacity for rage and protective instincts is something they can't fully suppress. This discovery led to new resistance tactics. Teams would deliberately trigger emotional responses in controlled humans by showing them images of their families or playing recordings of their children's voices. Sometimes this was enough to break the control long enough for rescue. The aliens responded by increasing security and moving important operations to their ships, where rescue was impossible. They also began eliminating humans who showed any sign of resistance potential. The war was becoming a race to save as many people as possible before the Zephyrians could complete their enslavement program. Danny Wright's communication network became the backbone of human resistance. Using quantum encryption hidden in background radiation, he connected resistance cells across the galaxy. Leaders could coordinate attacks and share intelligence without the aliens detecting their communications. 6 months after the invasion began, Jake Morrison's fleet had grown to include dozens of ships and thousands of free humans. They operated from hidden bases in asteroid fields and the outer reaches of star systems. Ryan Blake had become their intelligence chief, learning everything possible about Zephyrian technology and tactics. The aliens were methodical, but they had made one crucial error. They underestimated human stubbornness and the depth of emotional bonds between people. Every day, more humans broke free from control and joined the resistance. Every rescue operation saved not just lives, but also valuable intelligence about alien operations. Kate Sullivan stood in her mountain command center looking at maps, covered with resistance symbols. Free human territories were marked in blue, while red zones showed areas under complete alien control. The red vastly outnumbered the blue, but the blue areas were growing. They thought we would break easily, she said to her assembled commanders. They thought fear would make us submit. They were wrong. Every day we grow stronger, and every day they learn that enslaving humanity was the worst mistake they ever made. The resistance was far from victory, but they had survived the initial shock and were beginning to fight back. The Zephyrians had conquered Earth and most of the colonies, but they had not conquered the human spirit. That would prove to be their fatal error. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Terra's Pride, watching the stars through the main view screen when the impossible happened. The ship's sensors detected something that should not exist in the empty space near Proxima Centauri. Lieutenant. Commander Ryan Blake moved quickly to his station and ran the scans again. Captain, we have 3 unknown vessels approaching from the outer system, Ryan said with worry in his voice. They don't match any human design I've ever seen. Jake felt his heart beat faster. In all of humanity's years exploring space, they had never found another intelligent species. Earth had sent out dozens of ships to search the nearby star systems, but found only empty worlds and silent space. Now something was coming toward them at impossible speeds. All stop, Jake ordered. Send a message to Earth Command immediately. Tell them we have contact. The unknown ships grew larger on the screen. They looked like huge crystals floating through space with smooth surfaces that reflected the light from Proxima Centauri. No engines were visible, yet they moved with perfect control. Each ship was 3 times larger than Terra's Pride. Communications. Officer Maria Lopez worked frantically at her station trying to establish contact. I'm getting some kind of signal, Captain, she said. It's not radio or laser communication. Something else entirely. The largest crystal ship moved closer, and suddenly a voice filled the bridge. It sounded like music mixed with words spoken by multiple people at once. Greetings, small vessel. We are explorers from distant stars. We wish to meet with your leaders. Jake looked at Ryan, who shrugged. No one had trained them for this moment. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Terra's Pride. Welcome to our system. We are pleased to meet you, Captain Morrison. I am Speaker Veltar of the Zephyrian Collective. We have traveled far to find new friends among the stars. May we come aboard your vessel? Jake hesitated. Every instinct told him to be careful, but this was the greatest moment in human history. You may send a small delegation. We will meet in our main cargo bay. An hour later, Jake stood with his senior officers watching a section of the cargo bay wall simply disappear. 3 tall figures walked through the opening that closed behind them like it had never existed. The aliens were beautiful in a strange way, with pale, translucent skin and 4 arms that moved like dancers. They wore no clothes, but their skin seemed to shimmer with its own light. Speaker Veltar approached Jake with what might have been a smile. Captain Morrison, it is wonderful to meet a new species. We have found so few intelligent races in our travels. How many other species have you encountered? Jake asked. Many hundreds across thousands of worlds. Most become our friends and trading partners. We offer advanced technology in exchange for cultural knowledge and workers who wish to explore the galaxy with us. Ambassador Lisa Grant stepped forward. She had been asleep in cryo when the contact happened, but Jake had awakened her immediately. Speaker Veltar, I am Ambassador Lisa Grant, representing Earth's government. We would be honored to establish relations with your people. Excellent, Veltar said with that musical voice. We have much to offer. Faster ships, energy weapons, medical devices that can heal any injury. In return, we ask only for volunteers to join our crews and help us explore new worlds. Ryan Blake watched the aliens carefully. Something felt wrong about their technology readings. The crystal ships showed power signatures that defied known physics. More troubling was the way the aliens seemed to know exactly what to say to make humans interested. We would like to invite a delegation of humans to visit our flagship, Veltar continued. You can see our technology and meet others who have joined us from different worlds. We have translation devices that will allow perfect communication. Lisa stepped forward eagerly. I would be honored to visit your ship. Wonderful. Please bring your senior officers as well. The more humans who see our peaceful intentions, the better. Jake felt torn between excitement and caution. This was beyond anything Earth had dreamed of, but something in Ryan's expression worried him. Ambassador Grant will come with a small team. I'll remain on Terra's Pride. Veltar's smile seemed to widen. Of course, Captain. We understand your caution. Here, let me give you these translation devices. The alien produced small silver objects that look like jewelry. Simply place them behind your ear, and you will understand all languages in our collective. Lisa took the device and attached it as instructed. Her eyes went wide for a moment, then she smiled. The clarity is amazing. I can understand you perfectly. Now Jake accepted his device but hesitated before putting it on. Ryan caught his eye and shook his head slightly. I'll wait until the team returns, Jake said. 3 hours later, the shuttle carrying Lisa and 5 other officers had not returned. Jake tried to contact them but got no response. The Zephyrian ships had moved further from Terra's Pride and were not answering communications. Captain, Maria called out urgently. I'm detecting shuttle debris near the alien flagship. Jake's blood went cold. Battle stations. All hands prepare for emergency jump to Earth before Terra's Pride could move. The crystal ships surrounded them. Veltar's voice filled the bridge again, but now it sounded different, cold and commanding. Captain Morrison, your delegation has agreed to join our collective permanently. They are quite happy in their new roles. You may surrender your vessel now, or we will take it by force. Jake saw Lisa on the viewscreen standing next to Veltar. Her face was blank and her eyes were empty. She was alive, but something terrible had happened to her mind. Never, Jake said, and ordered the jump to hyperspace. Terra's Pride escaped, but Jake knew they had made a horrible mistake. The Zephyrians were not friends. They were something much worse, and now they knew where to find Earth.